Hey guys, Manny CA here with another informative video on firearm repair and maintenance. Hopefully you guys will get something out of this for all you high standard lovers out there and owners, and there's quite a few. I know there's a lack of info about these guys, and today what I thought we'd go over are some common issues and a little bit of disassembly. This is the guy you saw in one of our previous videos. And we're going to work on the upper slide on this portion of the video because it takes just a little long to do the bottom part. So we're going to show you quick disassembly, a little bit of maintenance issues, and we're going to go through and we're going to clean it up because you saw in our shooting video we had a lot of stovepipes and the bolt just wasn't coming back far enough to aid in ejection. And I think it's because it was a little bit dirty because, like I said, the owner, he's here with us today, and he was just telling us he's never really cleaned it because he didn't want to take it apart. Short of running a bore brush down the barrel, that's about what he had done. So I want to show you guys how to take this apart. We'll go through a little bit of detail and a little bit of function and show you guys if you have any issues or questions. We'll also talk about the mag. So let's get started. Disassembly of these guys are pretty straightforward. I don't know. Let me show you guys what we're talking about. You want to cock it to make it easier to disassemble, and then of course we're always making sure that our gun is empty. See that? We are empty, clear, ready to go. Mag out of the chamber. No ammo on the workbench whatsoever, except for these blanks that have already been fired. So, and I'll show you, these are going to be used when we go through and show you the extractor and all that other good stuff. So, just to begin with, you've got a takedown lever up here, takedown bar, punch over here, and on the opposite side you've got a takedown lever, and you can see how that goes. And basically what you want to do is you cock the gun, and since it has no lever stop, you use your thumb. This is the way I do it. You use your thumb to hold this open like so. You use this finger to push down hard on this lever right there, and then you put forward. And now what that does is it captures the spring, the recoil spring, which is in here against the inside of the slide, so there's no spring tension. See that? One thing about these guns I will say is, see, now we're back on spring tension. To put it back on spring tension, you just bring it back. So let's try that again. Press that, bring it forward, and see. Here, bring it forward, there. And now we have no tension on the spring. Now to finish it off, what we're going to do is bring that down, bring that forward, and then on this side you've got the lever. You push that lever down all the way as you rack the slide back. Hard. This is a little sticky. For some odd reason, this guy is sticky. And you'll see right here what's holding the slide on. See this? With these right here, you've got your little lever. Well, this lever is what locks the slide on. You see that? And we'll show you. You've got a plunger in here, which we'll get into this in a separate video. But the plunger, see, what keeps this up. Hammer here, everything. Now, one of the things you guys might hear horror stories sometimes about these guns, and one of them, what happens is the people that really try to mess around with them, they don't know what they're doing. They try to remove this lever right here by pulling it out. Now once you do that, this kind of goes flying up inside, gets all jammed up in the works. Plus the big deal is this plunger right here. See that plunger? It kind of sticks up and it creates a mess, and now it's going to be almost impossible to remove this. And what some guys do is they come in here and they've got to take and they've got to cut with a milling machine, cut this off, remove the plunger, get everything squared up, and then they come back and they fit another piece, they weld it on, they got a TIG welded on, grind it down, refinish it. It is a mess. You guys don't want to do that. So caution, word of warning before you guys work on it. Don't remove this little lever right here, and that's the takedown lever. Don't remove this lever without having the top off first. But we'll cover that in the second video. We're going to work on the bottom, on the frame. So just something to think about. But other than that, these guns are a cake to work on, just like any other firearm. You know, just you got to go through it, practice it with it a little bit, and you get used to it. So at this point, what I would do is just kind of go through and look at everything. It's a little bit dirty. What we'll do is we're gonna, off camera, I'm going to go through and kind of clean this up. The feed ramp right over here, you can hit that with the Dremel, all right? And I like to hit just the feed ramp. All we're doing is polishing. As you can see, this one is a little bit rough, but doesn't really affect the feeding all that much. But if you want, you could hit that with a little bit of sandpaper. And what I would do is take your 600 grit paper, wrap it around here, and kind of just go up and down like that, polishing it off just a little bit, and then finish it off with your Dremel and a little bit of your polishing compound, valve grinding compound, really light valve grinding compound, because this thing is, I don't know if you hear it, it's not really all that smooth. So the feed ramp could do with a polishing. The rails, we're just going to clean these up using Hoppe's. Hoppe's is the best powder solvent I found. It really cuts through. I don't care what people say. CLP is good because it puts like a Teflon finish on everything after you use it for a while. But Hoppe's will remove any powder fouling or powder. Really, really cool. Really, really good. It'll remove everything, so you won't have anything to worry about. Now these guns, this one, we shot this one, and it's a little bit dirty. So like I said, we're going to take and we'll clean this one off air. So now we got the lower done, because that's as far as we're going to take this. Let's focus on our slide. Here's our slide. A lot of different variations, a lot of different models. This one has, this is the actual recoil spring guide. Got a punch here. You've got a punch up here. Second punch is for the extractor. You see that right there. There's the extractor. And this is the punch to, it's a detent to keep the spring, it captures the spring. Let's turn this over. We'll show you what we're looking at here. Now you're looking here, you can see this is the spring right here that's being held by the detent, which is this piece of sheet metal right here. Here's the firing pin, and you can remove the firing pin by taking this screw off. Now look, you can see we're removing the firing pin, and you can see it right there on the face coming through. Everything's really dirty. It's a mess. We'll take care of it. We'll show you how to do it. But like I said, you guys want to take your times. This is your first time doing it, because a lot of these pieces, they've been just put together for so long that it's just they're pretty tough. Let's see here. Let's grab our punch, and first thing we're going to do is we're going to knock out this, and we're going to uncapture the spring here. So if you can see right here, that's where we're going to put our punch in, and I'm just going to use a little hammer, and this will come flying out. You see this little circle right here? That'll come flying out. That's under spring tension. That's the cap. You want to keep your finger over there. This one has been, there we go, and there. So now we've captured, pin is out. Now we're going to remove our punch. Our finger's going to keep this over so it doesn't go flying across the room, and we'll never find it again. There we go. Ow, that hurt. So we got our spring out. We got the detent on one side. This is our plug, which came out. All right. And what I'm going to do just for now is put this in here so we know which goes where. Set that aside. All right. So now you've got that out. Now there's no pressure in here or anything. So next thing what we're going to do is we'll remove the firing pin, and for that you just use your handy dandy screwdriver here. Remember, flat ground screwdriver, something that's not a mechanic screwdriver, because these pins and these screws are really delicate. Alright, that's out. Firing pin, spring, everything comes right out. There you go. And there's the notch where that screw's containing this thing for free movement. And you can see your firing pin right over there. See? You could check for your firing pin clearance after we clean everything. Should protrude, I think, 3 to 4 thousandths of an inch, if I remember correctly. I think that's the correct protrusion coming out of the bolt face. So we'll set that guy aside. Next thing I like to do is the extractor. Here's the extractor. You can see we got a little, the groove right here, the spring and the pin. First thing we got to do is remove the cross pin off the top. So again, you take your punch, it'll go right here, and see that you got a little recess, and we're going to knock this guy out. This is not under any pressure or tension, so I wouldn't worry. There we go. See? There's that guy, and now you'll be able to push the spring detent back far enough so this guy will just pop right out. Let's see if we can do this. This is a little bit tricky, but I'm going to see if we'll use our, I got a knife I was using to do this. Let's turn this side. So you take your knife, you got to get between the detent and the actual extractor itself. Get in there, push it back, and there we go. It lifts out, and once you get the extractor out, you'll get the extractor pin. Then I'll slide right out. You'll have the little detent pin and the spring right over there. And that's about it. Now the slide is fully disassembled. You can take there's a screw right here which holds on the little stamped sheet metal plunger which holds everything down. You really don't need to take that out. You can see that in there. I'm going to go off camera now. I'm going to clean all these parts up. Again, we're going to be using Hoppe's on this. Love it. Works great. People say it smells great. I could take it or leave it. Gives me a little bit of a headache after a while, but you know what? Does the job like nothing I've ever seen before. So we'll be back in a little bit. Well, we got everything cleaned up. A lot of the powder residue came out, and of course we had a lot of I'll show you, we had a lot of lead splatter over here in the front that we scraped off, and of course inside here in the bolt face a lot of powder residue. Make sure you go in there, and we use our copper guide here to kind of scrape everything out. But otherwise we're good. We're ready to reassemble, and as we reassemble we'll go through and talk about a couple of things. One thing I wanted to go over was how the mag works. Now this is one of the old mags. This is probably came with the gun brand new when he bought it. And what happens is you've got two guides here. You've got the front portion here which holds the rim of the mag, rim of the round like so. And then what happens is when this guy goes out forward, you've got this portion which barely holds the front end of it, and then as it's coming over, the rim hits this where it can't goes in and is guided upward. So check and make sure that these are not bent out of shape. You see that? They right on top, which is what you want, this portion right here. And make sure that the lower portion here are being held in, just to make sure that you don't have a feeding issue. See? So it works pretty good. Mags look okay, not worried about them. Now we're going to assemble the slide here, and just what we're going to do is the slide is going to be same order as we put it in, or we took everything apart actually. So we're going to put the firing pin in first, and do that. Remember, we've got the screw right here for the firing pin, so that'll go in that way. And you see it's got to go in like that, because the screw goes in this way. We got to make sure that the divot, which is right here, the screw goes in there, and that's what captures the firing pin. So I'm going to stick him back in there, see? And then when we put our screw in, we want to make sure you push the firing pin in a little bit, so that way the screw drops down. See that? and snug it up. So that's kind of a no-brainer. I think what we're going to do next is we're going to put in the recoil spring. But let's look at this just to make sure it's got the free flow. Yeah, you can see the firing pin on this side is sticking out. So next, I'm going to put in our ejector spring. Now this can be a little tricky. Plunger in first. I like to start the pin near the top, and you'll see the difference. You've got one end which is rounded and has more of a finished look to it. That's the end you put in first. And here's your plunger that was in there. So the plunger is going to go in like this. We're going to compress it, and then we're going to push the pin in to hold it all together. Now this can get a little tricky, so it may take 1 or 2 tries, maybe more, just to get the pin in. I know it's, let's see, put it down like that, give it a couple of whacks. After a little fitzing and fussing, we got it in. So don't be scared. That's all part of shooting. It's all part of taking a gun apart. You have some fun with it. You learn a little bit about your gun. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the extractor in. Now, I want you to learn about the extractor, little things that took me a while to come upon. So, when the extractor is in the gun right here, and the way it sits with the plunger, here's the extractor, here's the plunger. Plunger and extractor look like this when they're in the gun. You see that? This hole right here is just where the pin goes in to keep it from working its way out. But what you really want is the relationship between this portion right here, flat portion, and this portion, the front portion of the extractor, mates up with the back portion like so. That's how they work. See that? So, one thing about the extractors is when they're in this way, right? Think about it, when they're in and the shell comes up this way, it's going to slip past the bottom of the extractor. So what you want is for this area right in here, right? We got to break the point off that area right there on the bottom of the extractor. So we take our file here, our Arkansas stone, and we're just going to break that file. Break that edge, smooth it out a little bit. So there, we're just breaking that edge. That way there's nothing sharp. When it comes up, when the shell comes up past it, it just kind of blows right by it. Now, we're not going to be messing with the tip over here. That tip needs to be sharp. Alright? Because what happens is this needs to sit, should be slightly than a 90-degree angle in regards to the bolt here. Because what happens is when the shell comes up, this has to be, I'll show you, this angle right here, which grips, this is the inside that grips the shell. If the angle on that is like this, right? That's called a negative angle. You'll get a lot of pore ejection. You know, if it's like that. See, I'm exaggerating, but on my punch right here, if the inside angle right here is like that, it's not going to grip the shell. If it's overly positive like this, you'll have the same thing. You'll have what's called spring out. And spring out is when the extractor hits the side of the case too much and there's not good contact. See what I mean? Spring out is controlled by this right here. You control it here by filing this area down. So on this gun it's fine, and you can tell if it's not ejecting correctly, if it's ejecting too weakly. First thing I would do is look at this right here and refile that. You can recontour that. All you need is 1 or 2 degrees. You don't got to go crazy. And then if you've already done that and it's still not working well, you may want to remove some material over here. Okay, but again, your mileage may vary, so just go slow, take it easy, and you may need a new part. Now, if those two don't work, it could be that you need to shorten this guy. And what I mean shorten is, we put in a vise and we're going to clamp it this way. And what that's going to do is going to shorten this guy like this. It's going to create like a U. And then you could go through and file it. But that's like a last resort. And usually they break when you do that, since it's a hardened part. But it's known to be done. I've done it before to help with what's called spring out. But that's like that's a real rare case. So something to think about. Most people, what you'd have to do is just, come down here, and like we did, we just broke that angle on the bottom. That way, as the shell comes up, you don't have to worry about it getting hung up. And it aids in feeding. And there. That's all you got to do. And same thing, what we're going to do when we put it in, I like to take the pin, and you can see the pin's got a round finished edge on top away from my fingers. And we're going to put that end in first, right there. And then what you do is we're going to take and we're going to put the spring here, the ejector. Now remember, these guys work like this, just like that. So when you replace your spring and ejector, this face right here should be facing in. So when we install it, it's going to be going like that. You see that? Straight in towards the center. So slip this in. Take your extractor, sorry. Take the extractor. And it's so simple. All you're going to do is push it in. If you've got thumbs of steel, this is where and I usually don't like to use pliers, but I want to show you guys exactly what I'm doing. See that? Take this, and you're going to just, we're being really gentle here, push it back, and you'll hear it snap. Did you hear that snap? No, it wasn't the ejector breaking, people. The snap was the ejector going into place. See? And there you go. And if you're getting problems where every couple of shots your ejector flies off, you're not getting positive engagement where I was showing you. So what you'd want to do is file down on your ejector spring right here. File this area down a little bit so the ejector sits closer in, and you don't have to worry about that. Now once you get it in, you should have, I'm going to show you, you should have about, let's say 15 thousandths of an inch back here. Alright, the cartridge is used to push out the extractor about 15 thousandths of an inch, so you'll get a little bit of play going that way. Okay, And when you have the cartridge go in, you should have about 5 to 55 thousandths, say 50 to 55 thousandths from the extractor, between the extractor and the bolt, hold on, and the bolt face right here. There's about 50 to 55 thousandths of an inch through here. That way you can feed all your ammo. A quick test is take your case, and we're going to kind of simulate out of the magazine up into the case. See? Slide it from the bottom, just like that. Should hold. See? We have no problem. So, push it. There should be a little bit of play. There will be a little bit of play. But, you see how that sits in there? No problem. So, the ejector is fine. And with that, we're going to drive in our last pin. Make sure it's flush. There you go. Excellent. One last thing we're going to have to do is reset the spring that's in here. Okay? You take your, I'm going to show you, we're going to use our hammer here, because what we're going to do is we need to push this. See that plunger? It's got to get pushed back and stuffed underneath this area right here. And then we got to push this pin right here that holds it up. Remember that piece that was under there? So what I like to do is use this as leverage, because that piece is kind of tough. So push it back, and then, oh, one more thing you want to do. Just check, make sure it's free. No binding, no nothing, you're good. So you want to push it down. There. See, we captured the spring. There's the little flat piece of stamped steel that's attached to the knob here. So, we're ready to reassemble. I had already gone through and I cleaned out the internals here. And we'll go through the plunger, and this is just a little bit, it's not that difficult, but it just goes into a little more detail. We'll do another video. I'm going to show you what we do here. Then you take it, and on some guns, what you got is the hammer binds up underneath. So just hold the hammer back, put that forward. You can hold this down if you can. Sometimes they're a little bit hard to get together, but using your dead blow hammer, boom, you're in. Now we still have, see that? Still got play on that, because we still have the spring locked up. But when you bring it back, there. Test the gun. What I like to do is I'll put in a empty shell. So I've got an empty shell in there. Give it a fire, and then simulate ejection. Alright. So we look like we got everything down on this gun. So pretty simple, straightforward. It's not a mystery. Anybody can do this. If you guys have any questions, comments, or complaints, or if you have a better way of doing it, send it on down. Till next time.